Hey guys, how you doing here? Rich here, and I got a couple snow blowers. The guy brought them in. Neither one of them's running, and got one running really good here. And the thing on this one was just, I think the guy didn't know where the fuel shutoff valve or what it was. This is really unmarked. You can see right here on this one. So if you're using a snowblower that's you're not familiar with or whatever, look on this right here. This is unmarked, and this is actually your fuel shutoff valve. So that's open, like lessy-loosey, just like you're turning on a faucet. To the left, you turn it on. To the right, it shuts fuel off, and that goes between the tank and the carburetor. So that what was going on with that one. He just didn't know how to turn the fuel on. So this one has the same kind of valve, and you can see it right there, right in there. All right, and so that is right now in the right position. So I'm going to go turn it to the left, so that goes horizontal there, and that's allowing flow now. So I'm going to let you hear what it does. I've had this carburetor off now a few times and back on, and cleaning it out real good. I even opened up the main jet a little bit. It was relatively clean, just had a little bit of sediment in it, but not much. The tank is really clean inside. I'm gonna go ahead and start this up and let you hear what it's doing. The only thing that I can determine so far on this is that it just needs the carburetor replaced because it seems to be running lean. So if you get this problem with the surging, check this out. And if you have the same problem, I'm going to leave a link for the it's $20 Amazon carburetor that I'll leave a link in the description for it. So I got to prime this a couple times. Okay, I'll show you what I'm doing. Putting it in the choke position here. Okay, so we got the choke position right here. You can see that. So that's choke on. Got the primer button right here. A few times, doesn't take much. Got it in the rabbit right here. Little rabbit mode on the throttle. Okay, and we'll go ahead and I don't like going on these things anymore if there's electric start. So let's get it started here. Let you listen to it. Choke on. Then to turn it off, you can either turn it off like this, or just pull this key out. That red key in there. That shuts it down too, so either way, you can pull that out or just turn this to the off. So what I'm going to do now is grab that carburetor. I'll show you this carburetor. And we'll get that sucker on here. Yes. And we'll get into that here in a second. Show you how to replace that carburetor. Pretty simple. Okay, so here's this new carburetor that I got. Amazon's about 20 bucks. It comes with gaskets and whatnot. I could probably use the gaskets that are already on there. I might use the new ones, but I want to use the old ones because they're still in pretty good shape. I put a new intake gasket on this already between the old carburetor and the block, the intake manifold there, to see if it was maybe some type of air leak. Maybe it was sucking air, causing a lean mixture, causing it to surge like that. So here's that new carburetor, and what I do with these is just with this sitting right here, no fuel in it whatsoever. Here's the inlet for the fuel, and I blow in this, okay, right there, to make sure that air is flowing through it. Then I turn it upside down. That's going to make the internal float come down and seat the needle. and that stops air from flowing. So right now that's working the way it should. I'll probably go ahead and take this bowl nut off and look at the emulsion tube, or not, but I have one out from another carburetor I had laying around that is the exact same. It looks like the exact same emulsion tube and jet. So here's the emulsion tube, and if you look really close on that, you can see the little holes that are going through that. They're so tiny. I don't know if that's focusing on that, but you got to make sure every one of those little holes in the emulsion tube is clear. That can also cause your lean and then ultimately surging condition. And then here is the main jet. Okay, that's out of that other carburetor that I had right here. And see what I was doing when, here's the other carburetor I had laying around. This is probably brand new, but it looked like the jet and the emulsion tube were the same, so I went ahead and swapped it out. It didn't work, so I put the original back in, and that's what's in that carburetor right now. But here's how the float works. Gas comes up, it brings that needle right there to meet the seat, and it seals it. So fuel's coming in there, if it's raising up your float, boop, stops it, and as it's running, it's just constantly, you know, pulsing back and forth there, going up and down, letting fuel in as needed for the engine to run. So on here there are a few screws you got to take off to make this easily accessible for the carburetor part here. And on this cover, that doesn't come off real easy, I just let it hang there, but there's 6 of these bolts that come off, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6 from the front. Okay, one of those is a little tricky to get to in the front. You probably need a wrench like this to get it off, to get it started anyway, and then you can take it off by hand. So I don't know why this light's not working. Hopefully there's enough light in here to do this. Okay, had to say goodbye to my daughters who are heading out to work right now. All right, so we got that off, and then it's just, you got a couple 10 mil right here that are holding the black cover on here. All right, a couple nuts holding that on. That's really about it. And then you got a little spacer gasket thing that's in there, and this pulls right off. And now be aware that you have your primer line, okay, right here that goes down to that, and we got a new hose right here on the new carburetor. So we'll just take this off, pull that off, doesn't matter. We'll probably just leave this, might be easier, just leave that on that primer bulb button. This kit also comes with a new primer bulb button, but this one's working just fine, so I'm not going to replace it, and I'll have a spare laying around. Okay, so then what we'll do is get in here, get a little bit closer. All right, and so we're going to take this off. Usually you can pull this out a little bit. You got this little spacer gasket right here. This is a metal one. Make note that this little recess area right here lines up with this hole right here, and that's how it goes back on. Put that to the side, and then when you're taking this off, you usually can just pull it off a little bit. The fuel line over here is hanging it up, so here's your fuel line. Just going to pull that off. Yeah, with something here, doesn't matter what it is really. Just don't want to booger it up. I try not to pinch these lines if at all possible. I've had this one. Okay, the fuel's on, so I'm going to turn it off so it doesn't flow out. And then I'll take that off. And we'll go ahead and pull this off. Now, when you get it into about this position, you have your little spring right here. Okay, and that's right here. We're going to be taking that out of the little tiny hole. And then you got to turn this throttle valve like in this direction for it to be able to pull out your governor arm like that. Okay, goes down in that little slot right there. Okay, just like that. Okay, so you pull that right off, and we can just slide that new one on. And it's kind of nice to look inside of here and take a look at that emulsion tube in the jet, but I'm just going to go for it because it's cold, man. It's cold outside. So I've got the gasket on there. The gasket's got the little hole right there in it that matched up with the one that was already on there. I was trying to take up that space and block off any kind of air leak that might have been going on. So I'm not gonna mess with any more gaskets there. I'll put that back in a hole right there, and then I'll try to find the tiny little hole right here, and it is where it's supposed to be. So we'll put that right in there, and that's connected. And now we want to make sure there's no, see this little, we got a plastic plate on here that's kind of loose, and we'll just make sure that that is going to be all the way up and against there, nice and flush. You got a couple things. You got this kill switch wire, and then the ignition spark plug wire that goes past that. Just make sure you have a good, you know, set right there as you're putting it on, and it's flush against that intake manifold. Now we're going to go ahead and get this tube off here, off the old one. I don't even want to pull it from the primer bulb itself. Okay, I'm spilling gas all over the place. All right, fingers are starting to get cold. It's actually about 25 degrees this morning, which is wonderful compared to what it's been the last couple weeks. Okay, so we're gonna get this off here without destroying it. It's plastic, so I don't want to force it too much. Maybe I could take this off the other end. Maybe that'd be better. No, I want to leave it as is and take it off from here. What I do like to do though is put a little bit of Wonder Juice on these lines before I try to remove them, to give me just that little bit of extra help when pulling this off. And I don't like trying to pinch them too much. I'm taking them off. Okay, that's nice and easy. Okay, that's good. I'll bring this down a little bit. And I'll put this back on here for the new primer connection. Get that down on the line, and then I'll come over here to the fuel inlet side, and I'll get this fuel line on here. Hopefully it fits the new, yep, the nipple. And I'll bring this, I really don't like these little clips, pulling it down as much as I can, get it on there. It's on there, it ain't going nowhere. All right, we'll get this back on here. This little gasket. Hands are starting to, fingers starting to get numb. Okay, then I'm gonna line up this choke arm. And this gets a little tricky because you gotta find the slot right here. You can see, gotta line it up with the slot right here. That's where the choke arm goes through, and it pops out the back. So you get that there first. Then you got to kind of line up your holes on the back side. Get them going over those the studs that mount the carburetor, and that's looking pretty good. And all you got to do is get those nuts back on. And I like trying to do it by hand, so I want to immediately use the impact wrench to get those put back on there. I like putting the nut in the socket like that, get it started by hand so there's no cross threading. Where's that other one? Right here. Okay, we're almost ready to fire this up. See, it's pretty simple. I'm going to leave this loose. This is mostly, that's just like the exhaust pipe guard so you don't burn yourself. Okay, now that I have those finger tight, I'll go ahead and finish it up, snug them up. Okay, got this in the choke position, turning fuel on, and about time to, okay, that bowl should be filling up with fuel. And we're about ready to go for it. Let's see what it does. Should be running good. Cross your fingers. Nice and smooth. Okay, so if you're having problems with your snowblower surging, or really any small engine like that, just that carburetor replacement like that, 9 times out of 10 will do the trick. Actually, you can clean the emulsion tube and the main jet. Most of the time that works, but for some reason that old carburetor just didn't want to work anymore. So that was it. Hey, if you like this, give me a thumbs up, like all that stuff, subscribe, leave some comments in there. What would you have done differently on this job? If anything. That new carburetor, $20 on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description. Go click on that if you got one of these snow blowers. It is a model, I think it's a 37779, okay, Toro, and it's a 212cc. So anyways, have a good day. Thanks for checking it out. Hope this helps you out.